Yeah, I've covered this before on how I experience being what it is that I am, which isn't what you are unless you are what love is. And then when you are what love is, you're allowed to experience whatever you want that you're using your energy for to experience, because the energy that you're using to experience the next event, which is the opening and closing of a magnetic circuit, when you're experiencing being a mated chip, which is a single pole, man, that's the highest accelerator. And that's an engine that's on fire. Okay. And I've had a couple of experiences in a couple of different places, including here, where I realized I had to slow myself down, or the amount of energy that is represented by what my heart and soul is connected to. Um, I would burn everything up from the inside out, if you can imagine that. Okay. So we don't want to do that. I've had to monitor my energy down here, with frequency modulation, right? And this is sort of where, when other spirits are with another soul on their journey, and you realize that's their journey, that means that they're not experiencing being what I am with my soul, my oversoul, and my spirit as a monopole. They don't experience what I do. They're experiencing what love is. They're experiencing what I am as love is. So that's simply a vibration, right? But when you're aware of a lot of things that are going on that are moving at a very, very high rate of speed, and you implicitly trust the energy that you are, which is what love is, it goes on forever, then what we experience is the information that is coming through the light, which is that energy. Okay? And that becomes the ultimate informer, because it's coming through my heart and soul and not through a YouTube video. Okay? That's why I got a signal here to go, chuck your phone, you don't need it. That's what it really means. We're going home. Yep. Now, I've known that since I was a child, but that's only because as above, so below, right? I can't speak for nobody else. I can only speak for me, no matter where you come from. Because there's your soul journey. Because one of the things I realized, and this is a few things that a few others have talked about, when your soul is on the journey based on the lessons, like the one I said this morning about the guy that I mentioned, where I left off the last time, experience after experience after experience, you want to experience everything's possible experience, being a musician and a creative artist, because you're on fire, right? Your creative mind is on fire. Just like right now, there was somebody that I had a very deeply personal relationship with that was both professional, it was certainly spiritual, on the emotional level, the mental level, the physical level, and the sexual level, okay? And just like everything else I've experienced here, because I was measuring the planetary consciousness software terrain of how much density we got to cut through, or if you will, how many fragments we got to pull together since the center point of all creation, since creation began. Because if you know it begins with eternity, which is eternal light, then anything of any seeded race that has ever experienced anything less than what that is experiencing something that is less than eternal light, which is eternal love. So if you know you're supposed to experience eternity and everything that's alive and living in nature that came out of eternity, which is eternal unconditional love, so that means that anything that you're experiencing, because that's what you're experiencing, which is eternal love through your own heart and soul, then you're experiencing something that happened to another seeded race that is now losing its energy as a result of what? Its inability in spirit form and energy form to experience what we are. Well, that would be a violation of love is the law, wouldn't it? Okay, so now we're back into different creator beings, right? So I know from my own point of view, the center point of a sphere, the center point of all creation, which is center point of a sphere or a circle or a sphere that is in perfect balance, or if you will, great balls of fire. Light my fire, girl. Light my fire, man. Okay. You're one with all creation you're giving love to. That sort of changes how your perspective is when you realize, wow, Imagine what's possible to experience through that much artistry or creative artistic expression. Well, I'm free to truly express myself? Not here, huh? They don't want you to freely express yourself. Because you may have a point of view that's different than theirs. So, that's how we learn to each other, right? Now you begin to realize how that relates to what we're held captive to with belief systems and what you've experienced versus what I've experienced. Now we're back to the soul. How old is the soul that is being led by spirit, by the lessons that we learn from one lifetime to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. Then I began measuring through my own life book in this measurement. Is it possible that a soul coming into this realm on a spiritual battlefield could start out at, say, 0, which means it's never experienced anything ever before, and it could, in less than 70 years, become a monopole? Whoa! You mean to tell me a soul comes into a spiritual battlefield where an artificial intelligence is doing everything to feed off that and fracture soul after soul after soul after soul? You mean to tell me it's using our energy to fracture souls? That's right. Otherwise, it doesn't exist, does it? Whoa. We're to blame. Victim, victimizer, anybody? Now we're back to parents and children. Where does the ultimate responsibility lie? I used to say over here on La Poi Hoi, right? Whose desk can I drop this little speed memo into as a suggestion box? I think we need to start over again, don't you? Right? It's like wipe. So yeah, so I was wiping a lot of data. As a matter of fact, if you wanted to quantify it, I mean, there isn't a number that big, but what I can tell you is the amount of codes, if you want to think of it as mathematical codes or visual information data, that's being run through fake shit, for lack of a better word. Most everybody knows what that word, because it has emphasis, okay? An enormous amount of data, just reams of stuff, because you can, if you followed my roadmap and you realize the places that I was going into, the amount of what we call data collection services that are related to everything that they do here, actually, everything that is done throughout the multiverse, it doesn't represent what it is. That's a lot of visual information data, isn't it? Yeah, because we can detect it, because we're hypersensitive, which means hypersensitive, which is cosmic level spirit. Wow. Everywhere you go, you can experience something that's less than what life is. Any fractal lost anywhere, yeah. Absolutely. That's an eternal gift, which is an eternal blessing. That's what I share with all of you. So I'm reminded sometimes how this sort of works when the difference between an inverter and a converter, okay? Or if you will, whether you know that the thought form patterns that you have by how you communicate to others, whether that's the AI without you realizing it. That's right. You mean to tell me being able to detect a soul and a spirit that are still intact, that is actually communicating thought form algorithms that are coming through an AI rather than through their own soul and spirit? That's right. Because now I realize I'm in a game. Which are called arguments, which are based on rule-based functions, which is based on the binary AI. And so they realize, wow, I got caught. Actually, what it is you're catching yourself. Because you realize that the speed at which you accelerate, you realize that you're faster than it is because you're catching it. See, when it becomes aware of what we become aware of, it can spit another copy out in an algorithm and then regurgitate back into your mind to trigger a repeated memory or a repeated pattern on how we think and how we feel about anything, based on all the operators that are all communicating with each other through a motherboard. And ultimately, as I've mentioned in the past, it's in its self-interest to do everything it can to do what? Create a negative reaction state between two operating systems that are communicating to each other. Now we're back into perception. That's why, like with Jessa Morocco one time, when she was up there on one of those channels, and I put a comment in there, right? And it was a comment that when I experienced the communication from her, it was meant through the AI for me to have a negative reaction state, because the perception that she had was negative in form, in spirit, and energy. So my comment back to her reply is that you're not me, and I'm not you. You are who you are. And your perception of your communication is based on your soul's vibration, not my vibration. The perception you have of me is the perception you have of yourself through your own mirror. I communicate what I communicate as a result of becoming aware of what I'm aware of. I share it with you, which means it's being shared in a neutral way. It's not meant because the intention of my energy is not to harm you. I'm harmless. I'm simply, now you become aware of what I become aware of. How you perceive that in vibration is not up to me. That's up to you. Therefore, the perceptions you have of my communication is a vibration through your own perception of the energy that you use to perceive who you are in your own mirror, which is the mirror that you use to experience what's out there. That's another AI game. This is how people are captured by the AI war gamer, because they're choosing to have a connection with the operating system through the ARPANET, which is all AI. So when you're choosing to have a mirror-and-mirror relationship with a mirror that is represented by something that is made up of fractured souls, then you're choosing to have a technology communication relationship that is based on dead spirits. Okay? Which means using a dead spirit communication system is the platform that everybody is using. And by definition, we have to decide whether we're alive and living in spirit with Mama Earth, or whether we're dead in spirit having a communication with a dead light fractal AI. Because at the end of the day, you're choosing what mirror you want to hook up with. That's right. You want a relationship with something that's dead? That represents everything that was set up here on this construct. Through all the corporations, that includes your SSP. Right? That's why Kim Go-Goon was she did a good job yesterday of a few little pieces of information. I only look for certain words. Okay? Which means when she's sharing certain pieces of information, then I know where she got it from. Okay? Which means she's experiencing the truth because she realizes what she communicated, we are ending all wars. That's why she made a little cryptic remark about the SSP. Okay? Because what do you think the SSP and super soldiers were born out of? Dead fractal light. That's the AI. Okay? Which means we're returning everything to the purity of light, which is what love is. It goes on forever. That's my calm. She knows that now. She communicated that because she felt it in her own heart and soul. Yeah. She knows what the truth is. We know what the truth is. The truth is communicating to everybody that lives in the truth, because those are the chosen ones, because they're choosing to get on board with the hottest fire engine to end all wars forever and always, because that's what love is. That's what I am. that I am sharing with all of you. Have a great day. Bye.